On a crisp morning in 1969, radio DJ Russ Gibbs sat in his Detroit studio when he got a strange phone call from a listener. The voice on the other end told him to put on the Beatles' White Album, play the song Revolution 9 backwards, and listen carefully. Russ thought it was a prank, until he tried it. What he heard was a haunting phrase: "Turn me on, dead man." It was eerie, unsettling, and to some, proof of something almost unthinkable, that Paul McCartney, the beloved Beatle, was dead. Not only dead, but secretly replaced by a lookalike. That moment set fire to one of the most famous conspiracy theories in music history. The belief that the real Paul McCartney had died in 1966, and the Beatles, along with the British government, had covered it up. Let's unravel this strange and twisting story. According to the theory, Paul McCartney died in a car crash on November 9, 1966. Some versions say he stormed out of a recording session after a fight with the other Beatles. Angry, he jumped into his car, sped off into the London night, and never made it home. Fans point to rumors of a crash that same year involving a man who looked like Paul. Supposedly, his car blew up after colliding with a truck, and his body was too mangled to be publicly identified. Here's where it gets darker. The theory says the Beatles' managers and even government officials feared mass hysteria if fans found out. So instead of telling the world, they quietly held a look-alike contest and found a man who resembled Paul almost perfectly. His name, some say, was William Campbell. Others call him Billy Shears. From then on, Paul McCartney, the one we know today, wasn't Paul at all. This theory might have faded into obscurity if not for the so-called clues fans began finding in the Beatles' songs and album covers. Take the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. Many believe the entire record is a funeral for Paul. The cover features the band dressed in colorful uniforms, standing before what looks like a grave adorned with flowers. Look closely. The yellow flowers in the center are arranged in the shape of a left-handed bass guitar, Paul's instrument of choice. Then there's the drumhead in the middle. If you place a mirror across the words "Lonely Hearts," it eerily forms the phrase, "One he die." Fans swore the Beatles were trying to confess the truth in riddles. On the song "A Day in the Life," John Lennon sings, "He blew his mind out in a car. He didn't notice that the lights had changed." Listeners claimed it described Paul's fatal crash. And in "Strawberry Fields Forever," John's voice can be heard mumbling something at the end. For years, fans thought he was saying, "I buried Paul." John later insisted he was really saying, "Cranberry sauce." But once the rumor spread, nobody cared what he said. It was already locked in as a clue. Perhaps the most famous piece of evidence comes from the Abbey Road album cover. You've seen it. The Beatles walking across the zebra crossing outside their London studio. But conspiracy theorists don't see four friends crossing the street. They see a funeral. John Lennon, dressed in white, is the preacher. Ringo Starr, in black, is the undertaker. George Harrison, in denim, is the gravedigger. And Paul, barefoot, out of step with the others, is the corpse. Paul also holds a cigarette in his right hand, though everyone knew he was left-handed. To believers, it wasn't a mistake. It was a sign. Behind them, a Volkswagen Beetle is parked with the license plate reading 28IF. Fans said this meant Paul would have been 28 if he had lived. It was like a scavenger hunt of death hidden in plain sight. In the late 1960s, playing records backwards became a fad. and nowhere did it spark more curiosity than with the Beatles. Fans who spun songs backward claimed to hear hidden confessions. Revolution 9 supposedly revealed, "Turn me on, dead man." "I'm so tired," reversed, allegedly gave, "Paul is a dead man. Miss him, miss him." Whether these were real messages or just tricks of the mind didn't matter. The mystery felt alive in the grooves of the vinyl itself. This is where the theory gets into bigger conspiracies. Believers argue that Paul's death would have destroyed the Beatles at the height of their fame. Millions of fans worldwide might have spiraled into grief and chaos. Some even suggest the British government leaned on the band to keep the truth hidden, fearing a national crisis. And then there's the financial angle. The Beatles were the biggest money-making machine in music. Replacing Paul meant keeping the machine alive. Ending the band abruptly in 1966 would have cost millions. So, they brought in William Campbell, or Billy Shears, and the Beatles carried on, never admitting what had happened. Of course, not everyone believes Paul died. Skeptics argue that the clues are nothing more than coincidences or fans overanalyzing. The Beatles themselves often laughed off the rumors. Paul McCartney, very much alive, even poked fun at the theory. In 1993, he released a live album cheekily titled "Paul is Live." On the cover, he recreated the Abbey Road crossing, but this time with a dog and a license plate reading 51IS, marking his age at the time. To Paul, it was a joke. To believers, it was another wink, another sign that the cover-up was still going. What makes this theory so enduring? Part of it is timing. In the late 1960s, the world was already filled with distrust. Vietnam, assassinations, Cold War paranoia. People were primed to believe hidden truths lurked behind official stories. And the Beatles themselves encouraged mystery. They were playful, experimental, and loved hiding Easter eggs in their work. So when fans started looking for clues, the Beatles didn't shut it down. If anything, they fed it. The theory also taps into something deeper: our fascination with death and replacement. The idea that someone so famous, so beloved, could be swapped out without us noticing. It's chilling. It makes you question what else might be hidden in plain sight. Over the years, Paul has been asked about the rumors countless times. His answer is usually simple: if I were dead, I'd be the last to know. But occasionally, he's opened up more seriously. In interviews, he said the rumors didn't bother him much, but his family sometimes found them unsettling. Imagine hearing strangers insist your husband or father is dead and replaced by someone else. Still, Paul seems to carry it with humor. He knows the story has only added to the myth of the Beatles. In a way, it keeps him immortal. More than 50 years later, the Paul is dead theory refuses to die. Entire books have been written dissecting the clues. Websites catalog every supposed piece of evidence. New generations discover it and fall down the rabbit hole all over again. Because at its core, this isn't just a story about a car crash or a lookalike. It's about how we see patterns, how we create mysteries, and how we cling to the idea that the world is stranger than it seems. And maybe that's why the theory still works. It's not about proving Paul died. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the eerie feeling that your favorite song might be hiding a dark confession, and the fun of asking, what if? So, is Paul McCartney alive? Absolutely. He's still touring, still recording, still very much here. But the story of his supposed death lives on as one of the most famous conspiracy theories in music history. It's a puzzle people can't stop playing with, full of hidden messages, creepy coincidences, and a deep sense of unease. And maybe that's the point. Whether it's true or not, the legend makes us listen closer, look harder, and wonder what other secrets are hiding in the world around us. Because if the Beatles, the most famous band on Earth, could pull off replacing Paul McCartney without anyone noticing, what else could be hidden in plain sight? As always, visit us at readtherealstory.com for more chilling stories you won't find anywhere else.